Story of the Mets season right there, everybody. How we doing, folks? It's your guy, Wardy here, and we're back at it with our latest New York Metropolitan postgame show, presented by our amazing sponsors at SeatGeek. Utilize our promo code WARDY10, that's WARDY10. That way you too get 10% off your next ticket purchase, whether you want Mets tickets, concert show tickets, comedy show tickets, NFL tickets, whatever you need, they have you covered, as well as Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets that we will get into later on today's show. Folks, what a ball game! There are things that I loved, and there are things I most certainly hated. Let's talk about first what I loved. It's finally happening. The clutch gene that is Juan Soto decided to step up. The same Juan Soto that hit 3 home runs in his past 2 games, entering this game 1 day game set against the Detroit Tigers in Detroit. He goes out and he blasts one, and when I tell you that this was a blast, this was the biggest home run Juan Soto has ever had yet as a New York Metropolitan. A grand salami, his second of his career, finally a home run with more than just one runner on base for this Mets team. That gave the Mets the early lead that we saw in this ballgame, 6-2. Then thanks to Manaea being batting practice that we're going to break down how that's a clear issue. Manaea step right up and give us another not even 5 and dive outing. He goes 4.2 innings, allows way too many runs. He's batting practice. He's horrendous. So we're going to break down how much of a problem this Mets rotation continues to be. But even as Manaea did everything in his power to cough up this Mets victory, Juan Soto said no. Juan tried his best. We saw with 2 home runs a couple days ago. It still wasn't enough. Today, he gets himself a 2-run triple for this Mets team to increase their lead, to keep them right back in the top of this ball game. Crazy enough, if your name was not Ryan Stanek or Edwin Diaz, you were not looking good pitching-wise. That even includes guys like Brooks Raley today, as much as that pains me to say. Ryan Helsley is still tipping pitches. The Detroit Tigers knew every single pitch that man had to throw their way. So we're going to break down again all the pros and the cons of this huge 10-8 victory for the Mets. As yes, this is now the second game over their past 3 games that the Mets needed at least 8+ runs to keep themselves in the ball game, and they needed 10 just to win the ball game in the end. So yes, is this sustainable? No, not at all. Even with the Mets having the best offensive month in their team history ever, there in the month of August, they still managed to finish that month 11-17. And the reason why the Mets finished that month 11-17 is because they have no pitching whatsoever to back them up. That is why Noah McLean we're leaning way too much on right now. Jonathan we're going to be leaning way too much on. Brandon Sproat, when he gets the call later on this week, we will be leaning on him more than we otherwise should be. A lot to get into in this one, everybody, but the positive is the positive. The Mets came to play. The bats most certainly stepped up, and we saw the one and only, as I mentioned, do something absolutely tremendous, and that is have himself a 2-for-4 game, gets on base all 4 times, 2 walks, a grand slam, his first as a New York Met, his second of his career, a triple that drove in a pair, 6 RBIs, which ties the most of an RBI game he's ever had in his young career. Just under now a 260 average and 915 OPS. We're going to expand on the brilliance that was Juan Soto today, everybody, but we're going to get into the highs and the lows, everything that you need to know from today's big victory in Detroit against these Tigers. But folks, you know the drill by now. We got to let it rip as we always do. Win, lose, or draw, but especially after a big win, what am I saying? We got to let it rip with the one, the only, the official WardyNYM post-game jingle, baby. Let's effing go. Finally, let's do this.
Post-game. Post-game. Calling all Met fans, come and join us now. Talking about this game and gonna break it down. It's Mets post-game.
Shout out to my guys Greg and Jordan, as always, with the WardyNYM post-game jingle. In case you're wondering why did the schmuck just show lobster, that is because going back to when I was on vacation 2+ months ago, I had all these lobsters on my backdrop behind me out of state, and you guys were saying, bring a lobster home because the Mets were playing good baseball then. So I did, but my stupid self decided not to show the lobster and the ensuing next couple weeks of content, and the Mets were not playing good. So listen, the lobster's back, and we're utilizing that lobster after every big victory going forward, just the way that the Mets Mets have Grimace, Rally Pimp, and all these other things going is the same way that this channel on WardyNYM has the Rally Lobster going, and the boys need the lobster big time today in this towering 10-8 victory. Thank you so much, Clay, with the $5 holla. States the following: Ryan Helsley's a bum. They should DFA or trade him immediately. Yeah, we're going to talk about Ryan Helsley. He was batting practice yet again, and he was, as advertised, tipping pitches that we saw there. The slider, meatball. Fastball, meatball. Not a lot to love from Ryan Helsley yet again in this one, everybody. We got more donations. Let me get to them first. Thank you so much, Frank Sessa, with the $2 holla. Soto, indeed, my guy. He came to play today, and you have to give credit where credit's due. The one thing that we've been longing for as a Mets fan this season has been Juan Soto to step up in the clutch. His runner scoring position numbers have been putrid really up until the past couple weeks, but he has quickly turned that for the best way possible to actually find himself driving in runs, singles, doubles, triples, let alone grand salamis. He's doing it all for this Mets offense, so you can't complain on the Juan Soto front as much as you otherwise may want to because of that $765 million contract. It's not going to happen today. Casey with the $10 holla, thank you so much. No way Manaea can make his next start. I understand Pearson Holmes pitching tired, but you can give a good, but you have to give a good start. Senga's physically okay, fine, but Manaea's hurt. It's time to let him get surgery. Yeah, listen, Sean Manaea was batting practice yet again today. Clearly looks like a guy that had a cortisone shot in his elbow area to keep that numb while he's dealing with a loose body in his elbow. Manaea, who started the season late, obviously, due to injury, and obviously had no proper spring training. We're seeing right before our very eyes, he has not been able to find a groove at all, and I genuinely will not be shocked if Sean Manaea is shut down before the season ends. I think the Mets are destined to do that with one of their starters in their rotation right now, outside of Frankie Montas when he got moved to the bullpen, and then now got moved, obviously, to the injured list, and then obviously from there, Tommy John surgery. We're never hopefully going to see Frankie Montas pitch again for this Mets team. But listen, these investments that David Stearns made heading into this season continue to rear its head big time. Every single starter that David Stearns acquired, with the exception there of Griffin Canning because of his ruptured Achilles, has been batting practice. They've been dog water. They've not been good. Clay Holmes has been solid for a first-year reliever turned starter, but we can't handle these continued five and dive outings for a bullpen that will continue to get taxed. A bullpen that since June 13th has thrown more innings than any other team in baseball for the most part. A starting staff that's thrown fewer innings than any other club in baseball. The Mets need stability on this front. We know this. We have been longing. We have been dying for this. We've been preaching this every single day on the platform for what feels like weeks and weeks on end, and it's still the same turnout. The starting pitching, if your name is not a top prospect, and Noah McLean or Jonathan, you have not provided what this team needs for you right here, right now. That's why, as we talked about Brandon Sproat yesterday, and we will continue to today, it is imperative that the Mets give Sproat an opportunity, because even if he does not perform well, even if he struggles, at least you gave him an opportunity to see what he has. The Mets don't have any time left. They have no room for error. They have no margin for error, for that matter. And it's now go time, or it's no time, in the sense of them trying to get their rotation figured out with the final month of the season officially upon us. Casey, thank you so much for the donation. Guys and gals, we're going to break down everything that you need to know from this huge 10-8 victory over the Tigers in just the next couple minutes. Thank you guys kindly for hitting that like and subscribe on your way. And folks, we are oh so close to 35,000 subscribers on the platform. Thank you so much for that. We're giving away a jersey to one lucky subscriber on the platform, or whatever player you want currently on the squad. And all you got to do is, again, hit that like and subscribe on. Once we hit 35K, we'll be giving away that jersey approximately a week from that point in a live show that will keep you guys updated on our community tab here on the YouTube channel. Frank, again, thank you for the donation from earlier. Juliet with a $5 holla. I can't criticize the bullpen too much. They are being taxed to the max. Not sustainable. You're right, it's not sustainable. Listen, Brooks Raley's not a guy that's asked to usually pitch more than one inning, so it's fitting that Brooks Raley finally looks human for a change, right? Raley entered today's game only allowing runs in one of his 16 or 17 outings this year. That happened again today, but how much are you going to blame a guy like Brooks versus the fact that the Mets have been needing guys to come in as soon as it's not even the end of the effing fifth inning? That was the case for Sean Manaea today, who could not get the job done yet again for this Mets team. And in case you guys think I'm bluffing, take a look along with me. Sean Manaea, batting practice, can't even give you full 4 innings. Are you kidding me? 3.2 to be exact, 8 hits allowed, 5 earned runs, multiple home runs allowed, a walk, and 6 strikeouts. I don't care about the K prop whatsoever in the case of Sean Manaea. What I care about is consistency. Sean Manaea has not had it all season long. It's a massive problem because this was one of the guys that we were relying on at the end of the year to kind of be our go-to ace along with Kodai Senga, and when he's really at his best, David Peterson. Well, folks, all three of these pitchers have been batting practice as of late. David Peterson just allowed 8 earned runs in 2 innings. Kodai Senga couldn't get out of his own mess yet again in his latest outing that we just saw a day ago. When is push going to come to shove, and when are things going to change? And the problem is, I don't know if things are going to change properly in time before it's too little too late for this Mets team. So, that is why, as I reiterate, and I will say it again, Noah McLean, Jonathan, Brandon Sproat, step right up and meet this Mets rotation, because in real time, a Mets team led by David Stearns in the first half that were saying, oh, we can't call up top prospects based off team need and desperation. Well, here's the thing, folks. We are now September 1st, 2025. If you think the Mets aren't calling up these kids out of team need and desperation, I got a bridge to sell you. Noah McLean had to be here. Should have been here weeks prior. Jonathan had to be here. Should have been here weeks prior. Brandon Sproat has to be here. Should have been here at least 2.5 weeks earlier. But again, I digress. What I know is the Mets need help, and they have reinforcements to consider still in the farm. And until they do that, we're going to continue to do this song and dance about everything going wrong in the rotation and what moves they need to properly make. David Stearns knows this. Carlos Mendoza knows this. You guys know this. Now it's just a matter of fact of actually going out and, I don't know, doing it. So that's what you got from the pitching guys on the offensive end. This is how the ball game ended in this one. Again, it was a hit parade to say the least. Juan Soto, 6 RBI day for him. Love to see it. Marky V did not have a hit today, but that's okay. Vientos still has like 8 home runs in his past 15 games or so. He's been an absolute dog. Luis Angel Acuna came in later on this ball game and had himself a stolen bag, which looked nice. Juan Soto actually was caught stealing for just the second time this season as he was trying to leg out another stolen bag, and what he's going to be on pace for 30 stolen bags this season. Kind of a big deal for Juan Soto, in case you guys are wondering. We saw Luis Torrens look great with the bat today. Did not look good with his defense. He had a costly pass ball that led to a runner scoring and tying the ball game initially from third. You saw Keith Hernandez's disgruntlement because he hates the fact that he pops up with the one leg, even though Francisco Alvarez does the same thing. Brett the Hitman did not provide too much today, but still had himself an RBI and a ground out. Like I said, we're going to break down in depth how this Mets offense came to be today, but they went on a hit spree. The Mets actually had 8 hits to the Tigers 14, but thankfully, somehow, some way, 14 hits was still not enough for this Tigers team to prevail against the New York Mets. And mind you, the Tigers are 80-59 this season. So for the Mets to take this game 1, a day game, mind you, there against the Tigers is kind of a big deal. Even if it's against the grizzled veteran at the young age of 40 or 41, that being in Charlie Morton, who we despised so much during his long time with the Atlanta Braves. Let's hop back to the main slide here, everybody. B6, thank you so much for the $5. Soto and Colin Cowgill are basically the same, heading a grand slam in their first year as a Met. LFGM. Torrens had a good game as well, except that wild pitch. 1,000%. You literally took the words out of my mouth, my guy. Thank you so much for that donation. I appreciate that. Let's go up here and go down the list even further, everybody. See what you guys got for me. Make sure I don't miss anything. Tito, thank you so much for the $20 holla. Tito, I really appreciate that. He states the following: this team couldn't hit a lick. Now that the offense is clicking and we can't hold leads, stuff like this makes me crazy as a Mets fan. I know, it's one of those things where nothing's in unison, right? You have the meme of those 3 light switches where you have 2 switches on and 1 down, right? Or you have 1 up, 2 down. Okay, you have 2 up on the corners, but the one in the middle's down. Nothing is properly in unison. That has been the story of this Mets team in a nutshell. Thank you so much for the donation nonetheless. We need starting pitching come this offseason. I'm excited about the kids for sure, as am I. And here's the thing about starting pitching in the offseason. What if I told you that the Mets currently have 9 pitchers under contract for next season's rotation as is? That's not an exaggeration. They have north of 9 at least. They have Christian Scott, Brandon Sproat, Jonathan, Noah McLean, Clay Holmes, Sean Manaea, Kodai Senga, David Peterson. There's got to be at least one more in there technically if they bring back Griffin Kenny. That for certain is 9. 8 to 9 starters is what the Mets already have in depth heading in next year on contract status alone. No, I don't want to run it back with all of them. I want to give the kids a great opportunity and the top 4 that I first mentioned here. And I also want to trade away at least one of those starters I relayed on the veteran front. Whether that's a Holmes, whether that's a Manaea, whether that's a Senga, one of those guys cannot return this Mets rotation next season. Tyler McGill is another guy that whether you like it or hate it, he is going to absolutely be in that mix, barring changes as well. The Mets have an abundance of starting options. The problem is that none of them are properly clicking right now. None of them are been fully healthy at the same time, and none of them have really been in a groove at the right time for this Mets team, the way that the Mets have desperately needed it throughout the course of the season. Thank you so much for the donation, Tito. I appreciate that. We got 11 with a $2 holla. Soto's power level is over 9,000. Yeah, Juan was tremendous today with the bat. There's no denying that Juan Soto came to play big time, and we're going to break down more about his greatness just here here in a second, everybody, but just a sneak peek once more. Talk about having yourself a game, Juan Soto. Step right up and meet the Soto power. Juan Soto, a wonderful day for Juan Soto on this Labor Day. Also, again, happy Labor Day to everybody. Obviously, really do appreciate that. I was first saying to myself, why are the Mets playing a day game on their first game of a series? And I realized it was because of the holiday, and I wasn't upset anymore. I was like, okay, that makes sense. So Juan Soto on the holiday, getting the job done with big bombs, first Grand Slam as a New York Met. I'm actually kind of surprised that this is Soto's second Grand Slam ever in his career. I really thought Soto had more than what he did, and I understand he's only 26, 27. He has a lot more ball to be had here. That's why the Mets locked him down for 15 years, but kind of nuts to me that this also tied his best game ever with 6 RBIs. So yeah, in a down year for Juan Soto, everybody, I'm going to go on a limb and say that he's doing kind of solid for himself. Soto so far this season right now is a 915 OPS, 36 home runs, 88 RBIs, 112 walks, 103 runs scored, 26 stolen bags and counting. He will get to 30 by the season's end. He's still got 24 games to go left this season. He's going to get a 40-plus home runs more than likely. He's going to have more home runs maybe than ever in his career than what he did last year with the New York Yankees. And Juan Soto in a 4-game set of hitting 4 home runs, 3 stolen bags, 11 RBIs, and however many walks he had, now is joining Mr. Ryan Klesko as the only batters in MLB history to have that kind of stat line over a 4-game stand. So this is not just Juan Soto stepping up today at the plate. This is what Juan Soto did that we saw going back a couple days ago, right? Soto, 3 home runs in a 2-game span against Miami. Now what we saw Soto do today was something absolutely magical with the Grand Slam and the triple. And just to reiterate in regards to Juan, I apologize. He doesn't have 88 RBIs now. He's got 90 RBIs, so that makes it even better. So just when you're saying to yourself, oh, when are the Mets going to get the clutch gene? When are the Mets going to get Juan Soto needing to be the guy for this club? Well, folks, it appears that they are finally getting him. So you love to see that. And G-Money, thank you so much for the kind words there. Again, guys, hit that like and subscribe on your way. And I was going to break down all the latest in Mets land as the Mets take down here the Detroit Tigers by a final score of 10-8. And I would like to start the show by saying, one, we did find out who the extra people are added to this roster. We predicted one properly. The other we kind of predicted properly with the understanding of how playoff eligibility works. So, guys, again, for people that have this confused, Brandon Sproat did not need to be called up as of last night to be eligible for playoffs. As long as he's in the organization, from my understanding, he will be eligible for postseason play, which is why when Brandon Sproat does inevitably get called up by the Mets, it will not happen until likely later on this week when he could get a chance to maybe be the next turn in the order for Kodai Senga, which will be happening, I believe, next weekend around Sunday or so, whenever it's going to be. What I'm here to tell you is that in the case of the Mets and their rotation turn right now, Brandon Sproat did not get the call up yet because he just pitched 2 nights ago there that we saw against the Rail Riders, the Yankees affiliate, going 7 dominant innings there, 9 strikeouts, just a couple hits allowed, and has a 1.74 ERA over his past 10 starts there in AAA Syracuse. Sproat, who touches 99 to 100 plus on the gun, is that last top prospect standing in AAA for the Mets to consider, and now that the Mets did not immediately call him up, again, it's not the end of the world. They will more than likely call him up later on this week, and if they don't, I'll be the first to rant my head off right here, right now, and tell you how stupid of a decision that continues to be by David Stearns and this Mets coaching staff. They have not known how to properly handle starting pitching this year if it smacked them across the face, and that starts front office down. They know they have themselves to blame. Having said that, however, this is the moves that the Mets made entering today. Luis Angel Acuna, which we all expected, was one of the extra batters added, and Justin Hageman, because you can utilize him in lawn relief, was the pitcher that the Mets went with. Made sense in the case of Hageman, especially after the Mets have gotten multiple innings from guys like Jose Castillo, Chris Davinsky, and what they just got yesterday in what was 4 brilliant innings from Brandon Waddell. Those are guys that are not mainstays in the bullpen. They're just here for the short term to eat innings while they can and trying to help kind of save face of this Mets bullpen that's been so taxed as of late because, again, your rotation's not going deep for you whatsoever. So be on the lookout for that, everybody. Brandon Sproat is that last man standing that we're waiting on. Tyler McGill we're waiting on as well, but there's absolutely a world where both Brandon Sproat and Tyler McGill impact this Mets team positively down the stretch this season. Macked out with a $5 holla. Besides Sproat and McGill, is there anyone else down there you can talk yourself into liking? As a starter, very few, if I'm being completely frank. I don't think there is another starter that's close to being in consideration like that. I think if you're going to consider somebody, and it's another guy that maybe makes a level of sense, is like a Joanne or Suarez, but I think you're really pushing the needle there in that sense where it's not going to be as good as what you're hoping for results-wise, but more so just a body that can go out there and eat some innings for you. You know, remember when the Mets called up Jonathan Pintaro this year? Kind of a similar vibe along those in the sense that you really don't know what you're going to be getting. So, again, I do not believe the Mets really have any starter options to consider outside of Brandon Sproat and Tyler McGill at this point in time. And we know that Tyler McGill has himself one more rehab outing before the Mets make a decision on him. So we're going to wait and see what exactly that is going to be. James, great member. KC, great member. Tito, great member. Dave Caplitz, great member, friend of the platform. All you guys, Juliet, great member. MacDog, great member. All you guys, thank you so much. Dave with the $5 holla. They won, thankfully, but Manaea was dog. You know what again? Starting pitchers are awful. Yeah, they haven't been good. I'm not going to lie to you. The starting pitching has been a major problem for this Mets team right now. And let's expand more on what's been a problem for this Mets team on the starter front, among many other things, everybody. So without further ado, let's go ahead and let's break down this ball game together. Let's rapid fire it, because like I said, a lot happened in this one. A lot of hits happened. A lot of runs were scored by both sides here, but it came down to the Mets, and Juan Soto clutching up when you need to most to be the separator in this ball game. And the ball game started with Francisco Lindor getting on with a leadoff walk that we saw there. Then he promptly stole his 27th bag of the year. Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor are going to end this season with 30-plus stolen bags. Who had that on their bingo card heading into year one of Juan Soto? Like, I get it. Juan Soto has been very underwhelming until this past month when it comes to clutching up with the runners in scoring position, but all the other numbers have been there. And the stolen base aspect has been beyond impressive, because prior to this season, the most stolen bags Juan Soto's ever had in his career is around 12 or so. So who does Juan Soto have to thank for his great base running this year? Is Antoine Richardson, Mets first base coach, as he has been that guru for this Mets team and being smart and situational with their base running. That's why you're seeing Lindor steal bags constantly. That's why you're seeing Nimmo steal bags. That's why you're seeing everybody and their mother steal bags. The Mets have actually been one of the best base stealing teams in all of baseball this year, all while not really having all that fast of a baseball club. It's been very impressive. So after you saw Juan Soto get on with a walk, so there's 2 on, no out for Pete Alonso. Alonso grounds into his 22nd double play this season. The reason why I mentioned that specific number is because Pete Alonso has far and away more double play balls than any other batter in the National League. Alonso, we know he can be streaky, but I would be lying to you if I didn't say that I was today years old when I realized just how bad Alonso's been with double play balls this year. Like, I did not realize it was to the magnitude of being far and away the worst in all the National League. But yeah, that's a fact. That's where we are. So Alonso wastes the opportunity early for this Mets offense. Nimmo grounds out. As we head to the bottom of the first inning, who do we see hit a bomb right away? It would be Jahmai Jones right off of Sean Manaea, because Manaea is serving up meatballs. I get it's early in the ball game, but still Sean Manaea is serving up a nice Italian dinner there with these meatballs. It's 1-0 Detroit early. Then he strikes out Gleyber Torres. He gets a called strike 3 on Perez, and he gets a pop out on Spencer Torkelson. For those that are unaware, Spencer Torkelson was actually a player the Mets were heavily considering a trade for this past offseason should Pete Alonso have walked. Torkelson were north of 30 home runs this year, over 800 OPS. Honestly, wouldn't have been a bad option if the Mets did not bring Alonso back, but obviously I'm happy that the Polar Bears here and Spencer's doing his thing there for Detroit. As we get to the second inning, guys, Mark Vientos leads it off with a hit by pitch. McNeil more like Mick hits. He's on. 2 on, no away for Cedric Mullins. Mullins would be out on a sac bunt. Really like that bunt by Mullins. I thought that was really smart small ball. Just move the runners over, especially if you're not swinging the bat well. And Torrens then pulls a baseball finally. Luis Torrens doesn't go oppo. Instead, he goes down the third baseline for a 2-run double to give the Mets the 2-1 lead in this ball game. That would be his 13th double of the year there. We love that from Luis Torrens. Thank you so much for that, baby. Brett the Hitman gets on with a walk this time, so Beatty's on. 2 on, less than 2 out for Francisco Lindor, flies out, and then Juan Soto would strike out swinging against Charlie Morton, but not before the Mets are up 2-1. Now, mind you, again, the Mets stranded 2 runners in the first. They did not strand multiple runners to that degree there in the second. They finally pounced on Charlie Morton, whose batting practice, old-timer, old geezer, finally taking advantage of the man that is him. In the bottom of the same inning, we would see Riley Green lead off with a single. Then Dylan Dingler, what a name, would have 1-out single himself. Zach McKinstry with a ground out, and Javier Baez, shout out Almago, grounds out to end the inning. As we head to the third, guys, we would see a 1-2-3 for this Mets offense to go down in order. In the bottom of the third, we see Sean Manaea serving up meatballs yet again. After he would walk Gleyber Torres with 1 away in this ball game, what does he do next? Oh, he's going to serve a sweeper, and I will give credit where credit's due. This was not a meatball of a pitch, other than the fact that it was hung way too high. That was the problem. This sweeper should not have been nearly as high in the zone. It was a full ball inside, but it was pulled big time by Perez, who rips his 12th home run of the year there, and that would make it a 3-2 Detroit Tigers lead. So again, the Mets offense is scoring early. They're starting to beat up here on that Bean and Charlie Morton, but beating up on Charlie Morton will only get you so far if you're going to be batting practice at Bean and Sean Manaea. So as it's a 3-2 ball game, we head to the top of the fourth. And in the top of the fourth, Jeff McNeil, more like Jeff McDoubles. McNeil, with his 18th double of the season, would have him in scoring position for Cedric Mullins, who would then get on with a walk. 2 on, no away for Luis Torrens. And Torrens pokes himself a single. It's bases loaded. No away. Brett Beatty strikes out swinging. Francisco Lindor strikes out swinging. It's down to one man and one man only to step up when no one else is. What is Juan Soto going to do with a curveball down the middle that we see at 81 miles per hour? It's lifted. It's high. It's far. And it's gone. A big bomb for Juan Soto. His first grand salami as a New York Met. His first of the season. His first home run with more than one runner or so on base. His second grand slam of his career gives the Mets a 6-3 lead with his 36th home run this season. 108 off the bat, just under 420 feet there, pulled to right center, and that puts the Mets up by 3 in the fourth. The Mets would be up by 3 as we would then head to the bottom of the fourth, where we would see Zach McKinstry rip his 11th triple of the season to make it a 6-4 ball game. Why? Because Sean Manaea is an absolute problem. After Manaea would give up that triple for an RBI, Jahmai Jones makes it a 6-5 ball game with a single because, again, Sean Manaea is serving up batting practice. We would see Gleyber Torres get on with a single. That would be it there for Sean Manaea's final line. He would have 2 runners on as he would exit there, and thankfully Gregory Soto would get the final out on Perez for the inning, but not before Sean Manaea, again, absolutely, pardon my French, kiddos, shits the bed once more. I'm not going to sit here and break down Sean Manaea's arsenal today. He looked like dog water. He was batting practice. What does Sean get from yours truly today? Let's get into it and let's break it down. Sean Manaea is getting a grade today of a 2 out of 10. I'm fed up. I am not going to be light. I'm not going to be easy when it comes to these starters giving no length whatsoever. Batting practice. I don't care that you had 6 strikeouts, Sean. What I care about is the 5 earned runs that you gave up thanks to multiple home runs. What I care about is a triple that you gave up. Like, there are valid reasonings as to why I, like many of you Mets fans, have the frustration the way that we do in regards to Sean Manaea today. So yeah, I'm not happy about it at all. He's getting a 2 out of 10 from yours truly. If you agree or disagree with my grade on that, let me know in the live chat and the comments down below. And thank you guys so much again for chiming in live at a replay. We appreciate every single one of you here. But Sean Manaea not getting the job done, further opening the floodgates for the urgency that this Mets team needs and the sense of trying to figure out their rotation before it's too little too late. As we hop back in this one and we continue to break down the ball game, folks, we get to the 5th inning. In the 5th, it would be a 1-2-3 for this Mets offense. At the bottom of the 5th, we would see Spencer Torkelson lead off with a single. Then we see Andy Ibanez get on there with a 1-out single. So there's 2 on here, and yes, a wild pitch by Ryan Stanek, but not handled here by Mr. Luis Torrens would tie the ball game with that runner at third. Whether you want to blame Stanek or Torrens, I'm going more Torrens here, obviously. That would tie the ball game right then and there. Crazy enough to say that out of all the pitchers that struggle today, Ryan Stanek really wasn't one of them because he would get a fly out there on Dylan Dingler. He would give up a walk to Zach McKinstry, and then he would get a line out on Kerry Carpenter to keep this a tied ball game 6-6 through 5. As we head to the top of the 6th, Luis Torrens trying to make up for his defensive blunder there. He gets on with a leadoff single. Then we see Lindor with a hit by pitch with 1 away. Then Juan Soto with his first triple of the season. We're talking about a day for first. First, it's his first grand slam of the year. Now it's his first triple of the year for Juan Soto, and that puts the Mets up again 8-6 that we would see with a 2-run triple for himself. Mets are up 8-6. Alonso strikes out swinging. Brandon Nimmo then with a nice 2-out single there on a ground ball that is misplayed by that infield, and that would make it a 9-6 Mets lead here over Detroit. Vientos would strike out, but not before the Mets are now up 3 through 6 against these Tigers. In the bottom of that same inning, Jahmai Jones again torching the Mets with a leadoff single. Then we see a gorgeous catch by Cedric Mullins and center to Rob Perez, who is trying to get himself a little bit of a bloopy. No. Cedric Mullins, Superman right there, had something to say about that. Mullins, great catch by him as we then head to the 7th as the Mets get through that one unscathed, thankfully, and that was all thanks to Tyler Rogers with a scoreless inning. Shout out Tyler Rogers for not being batting practice today. Kind of needed that. And the top of the 7th, we would see Jeff McNeil get on with a great fielding error by Gleyber Torres. Then Cedric Mullins would get on with a walk, but this was after Acuna came in for McNeil and promptly stole his 13th bag of the year. Shout out Luis Angel Acuna. Welcome back to the squad, baby. We missed you. Looking for that base running. So you got 2 on, less than 2 out here for Torrens, who would do a nice sack bunt that'll put the runners in the scoring position again. Can we please do more of this? And Riddle, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day, my guy. I appreciate it. Can we please, I'm begging you, can we please do more of this in the case of this Mets situational hitting, actually playing bunt downs when you have less than 2 out and you have runners at first and second? It's a brilliant move to move these runners both in the scoring position, and that would benefit greatly for this Mets team because it's still less than 2 outs for Brett Beatty. And what does Beatty do? Beatty would ground out, but not before making it a 10-6 ball game. We then head to the bottom of the 7th inning. Here's Ryan Helsley, and here's Helsley giving up a leadoff double right away. Why? Because the first pitch he threw was 101 miles per hour, down and in. It really wasn't a bad pitch by Helsley, as it was perfectly turned on by Riley Green, who's having a tremendous year for this Detroit Tigers offense. His 29th double year there. Then we would see Cole Keith with a line out. Dylan Dingler with a ground out. Color me shocked. We know Ryan Helsley's working with 2 outs. All he needs is one final out to get out of the ball game, but sadly, that isn't enough. Instead, it's Zach McKinstry with a single to make it a 10-7 Detroit deficit. And how does he hit that single? He pulls on a slider big time. So again, they're pulling big time that we're seeing off of Ryan Helsley here. It feels like they know exactly what's going to come. It felt like he was tipping his pitches again today between the slider and the fastball. But after it's 10-7, thankfully, that would be it for the inning. But that's because Brooks Raley comes in. They're already done looking at Ryan Helsley. Mendoza's saying to himself, we can't give you any more of a leash. You have been batting practice. You have been a problem. And that would sadly continue. As we would see Raley come in, he would thankfully get a pop out on Henry Malloy to end the inning, but not before it's now a 3-run ball game. As we get to the 8th inning, Juan Soto with a walk. After the Juan Soto walk, we would see him unfortunately get out there trying to steal second base. Only the second time Soto's been picked off trying to steal a bag this year. That does it for the inning. And the bottom of the 8th, Jahmai Jones with a leadoff double, because of course he does. His 9th double of the year there that we would see down to Brendan Nimmo in left field. Then it's a 10-8 ball game thanks to Perez with a ground out, and Brooks Raley's out of the ball game. It's Edwin Diaz coming in for the final out, try to secure the 4-out save. Can Edwin do it? Oh, he most certainly can. We would see a fly out on Spencer Torkelson. We head the 9th. The Mets roll over 1-2-3. The bottom of the 9th, it's a huge strikeout on Riley Green after Green was this close to hitting a first pitch bomb to begin the 9th inning. Thankfully, that just went foul the right side. Cole Keith then with a line out, and then folks, Dylan Dingler, what a name, can't get over it. He ends the ball game by striking out on 4 pitches on that slider down away, and the Mets go on to win this one, everybody, by a whopping final score of 10-8. We have a lot more to break down in this one. I have a lot to say in regards to Juan Soto, this Mets offense, this Mets pitching staff, and what they can try to get right here as they have another big game tomorrow. What our guy, Noel McLean, Cowboy Ohtani, towing the rubber. You guys know that the Mets have something special here in their pitching, in their young pitching prospects. When I'm genuinely giddy thinking about Noel McLean pitching tomorrow. I can't tell you the last time that I got giddy looking forward to a starter outside of McLean and Ton this past month, all season long. I really don't think I've been giddy to watch a starter for the most part since maybe Kodai Senga in the first half of the season when he was really nails and looking like, oh, we got to watch Kodai Senga because Kodai Senga has his stuff today. No, Senga hasn't had his stuff since coming back from injury. But who has had their stuff? Who has been nails? Who has been dynamite? It has been our guy, and Noel McLean and Jonathan. Cannot wait to see both of them, and I cannot wait further to say that I will be in attendance for one of those games in Philadelphia to wrap up the road trip here, the 10-game gauntlet. I'm hoping to see one of McLean or Tom pitch in said games, unless Brandon Sproat has something to say about that. So guys and gals, we got a lot more to get into in this one. Before we break down more on the offensive numbers, the pitching, my bullpen grade, and everything in between that you guys need to know here as we get set for tomorrow's matchup, let's hear a quick word from our amazing sponsor that you guys know very well here, that being at Moomoo, the official trading platform of the New York Mets. Folks, have you been seeing that big orange bowl that's making Mondays at Citi Field way more exciting? I'm talking about our amazing sponsor on the platform at Moomoo. As the #1 Mets channel on YouTube, I absolutely love to break down stats, analysis, really getting into the nitty-gritty numbers, and that is why I love so much Moomoo, because they do exactly that with that same analytical approach when it comes to investing. It's a trading platform with professional grade tools and premium research that other companies usually charge a pretty hefty price for, all come for free when you sign up as a customer with Moomoo. But folks, that's just the tip of the iceberg. And thanks to Moomoo's partnership with our beloved New York Metropolitans, all Moomoo customers can get free tickets to any and every Mets home game on a Monday throughout the course of the season. That's right, folks. Free baseball all season long for the greatest fan base in sports. Not to mention Moomoo Millions. If the Mets pull off 100 wins this season, one lucky Moomoo customer is going to come out winning $1 million. And what's nuts about this is that Moomoo has already given away $10,000 when the Mets hit first 25 wins this season, as well as $20,000 when they hit the 50-win mark. And when the Mets inevitably hit 75 wins, they're giving away $30,000. But as much as they love baseball, Moomoo's number one priority is jump-starting your investing journey, which is why they're giving the WardyNYM community up to $1,000 in NVIDIA stock just for making a qualified deposit and becoming a Moomoo customer. So folks, what are you waiting for? Head to start.moomoo.com/Wardy, scan the QR code, or click the link in the description to join the Moomoo community. Now, let's get back to our Mets. Alrighty, folks, let's continue our conversation today. We're going to go over a couple things. One, we're going to round out the Mets offense, what they did today. Two, we're going to give our bullpen grade. Three, we're going to hear some remarks from Carlos Mendoza as well as Juan Soto as to what they had to say post-game today. And then four, I'm going to be answering whatever comments, questions, or concerns you want me to do here for our live viewers specifically as we cut things off for our replay viewers. So let's go ahead and break this all down one by one together, everybody. Again, thank you guys so much for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in here on this holiday especially. I really do appreciate everyone taking the time. Really does mean a lot. As we continue on here, let's get on to the Mets hitting. As I mentioned, they came to hit today. And listen, the Mets had 8 hits, but that's all they needed, scoring 10 runs. And it had everything to do with Juan Soto. Juan Soto led the charge today, so let's start with him. 257 average, 915 OPS. Francisco Lindor, 0 for today with a walk, 267 average, 794 OPS. Pete Alonso, 0 for 267 average, 856 OPS. Brandon Nimmo, 1 for 5 game with the RBI, 263 average, 785 OPS. Marky V, Swaggy V, Daddy V, whatever you want to call him. Unfortunately, Mark didn't get a hit today, but Vientos has been swinging the bat so much. It's kind of crazy to say this, guys, but yes, Mark Vientos is actually a plus batter in baseball right now. I bet you didn't believe that. Mark Vientos, the start of the year, so piss poor, is actually above league average at the time of us talking right now. Kind of a big deal. 241 average, 726 OPS. Jeff McNeil, multi-hit game. Love to see Jeff in the hit parade today after he had a bit of an offer there up until we saw the past day or so. He had like 3 games without a hit. Then he had a triple and he was left stranded on third. Then he had a double yesterday. The Mets did nothing with it. Today, though, they were doing a good job on driving him in with 2 runs scored. 259 average, 804 OPS. Luis Angel Acuna 0 for 1 with the runs scored in the stolen bag. 238 average, 574 OPS. Cedric Mullins 0 for 2 with a run scored. 223 average, 715 OPS. Terens 3 for 3. Big game for Louis. Love that with a couple RBIs, 226 average, 629 OPS. Brett the Hitman, 0 for 3, 249 average, 739 OPS. But that's okay because Beatty has been batting right around 350 over his past month of baseball. He has looked brilliant for the most part. So I got little to no complaints there. That's what you got from the Mets offense today in this one, as they had an expected batting average at 259 to the Tigers 324. So the Tigers actually had some unfortunate luck today, whereas the Mets, they, again, I think you could say they lucked out a little bit with how things dropped, how the defense was for the Tigers. It wasn't good today. The Mets were able to take advantage of that. On the pitching end, the bullpen, what did we like today? We loved Ryan Stanek, we loved Tyler Rogers, and we loved Edwin Diaz. Brooks Raley I love too, and just unfortunately didn't have it today. But when Raley still has a 2.2 ERA, he gets the pass. So I'm going to give the Mets bullpen grade today when, mind you, they had to deal with 5.1 innings of work. Not an easy thing to do at all. Having said that, however, knowing that they still gave up 1, 2, 3 earned runs in those 5.1 innings is why the bullpen today is actually going to be getting, I'm going to give them today a 5 out of 10. I'm going to give them a 5 out of 10 because, again, Gregory Soto didn't help as much as we were hoping initially. Stanek was fine, other than the fact that the pass ball, that wasn't his fault. Tyler Rogers did his job. Helsley continues to be batting practice. Again, everything about Ryan Helsley is very concerning because we know that he's tipping pitches. He's made it known that he's tipping pitches to the media that we saw through Will Salmon's piece with The Athletic the other day, as well as Anthony Tacoma with MLB.com, and it still doesn't matter. It's still happening. Regardless of how good the Tigers are, we all saw with our very eyes, if you watch this ball game, that every single pitch that Ryan Helsley threw, for the most part, the Tigers were on. There really wasn't an instance where the Tigers weren't on top of what Ryan Helsley was throwing their way, and that's a major problem. That's why Helsley, even in a 4-run ball game, you're shaking in your boots and you're saying to yourself, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You don't feel good about it. I didn't feel good about it. I'm curious if you guys felt any different. Brooks Raley did his thing for the most part, other than allowing that 1 earned run. And Edwin Diaz, what else can you say? Sugar stepped up this close to giving up a leadoff bomb, and the 9th inning just goes foul, and he promptly strikes out Riley Green shortly after. What I love so much about Edwin Diaz this year, which is why he's unequivocally one of the best closers and best relievers in the game today, is that when Diaz faces adversity, whether it's a single or close to a home run or whatever the case may be, when he's faced any type of adversity, he has not rolled over and died. Instead, Edwin has embraced that and has usually gone like back-to-back strikeouts right after, with the exception of Diaz getting rocked in his last outing. That was like one of the only outings that Diaz has given up runs like all season long for the most part, going back to April. So it's been very few and far in between when Diaz has been not looking great. And we also have to remember the context of a guy like Edwin, who has not pitched consistently at all either, because the Mets have been so sporadic and they're winning. You know, Edwin is constantly going north of a week on end without pitching for this Mets team before they throw him in there, even in non-save situations, because they haven't had the ability to really put him out there consistently because they haven't won consistently. So Helsley just started tipping pitches after being traded. Sadly, yes, that's kind of the answer to it. Yes, he has tipped pitches before, going back to when he had a matchup against the Cubs during his time with the Cardinals, but he said nothing was pronounced this way. And he said it's something that he like subconsciously, he does it without intention with his setup. And I'm actually going to show you guys in a second what I believe he's doing wrong there that's leading to him tipping pitches. So let's go ahead and show you guys what exactly that is, because I saw a side-by-side on X today that shows the slight differences in his setup between his slider and what we're seeing there and his fastball. And that is kind of evident of what the problem is right now when it comes to him and his arsenal. So let's just go ahead and let me show you guys what I'm relaying and talking about, everybody. So as you guys can see right here, right now, these are the difference in the pitches. They might not seem drastic, but it's enough. And the first thing that I'm noticing right away, from at least from my vantage point, is that it appears at least that the slider, he's kind of slightly more in and slightly down, versus his fastball, he's slightly a smidge up. You guys see that side by side along with me? This is what we're seeing in regards to Helsley and the tipping. Again, it isn't drastic, but it's enough. And this kind of difference is exactly what a team that's looking to find an advantage on an opposing club is going to find right away. Especially when a guy's been batting practice like Helsley, the first thing you say to yourself as the opposing team is, okay, if Buddy is not looking good early, clearly there's a reason for it, right? And it's not just his talent, because Helsley was acquired by the Mets as initially being deemed as one of the best relievers that the Mets could have acquired at this year's deadline, even as a rental. I mean, Helsley is a huge, high-octane, flame-throwing right-hander that usually dominates in the closer role. Transitioning to the setup man has not worked, but we're witnessing in real time, it's not just his inability to handle non-save situations, as is the guy is clearly tipping his pitches. So yes, exactly, fastball is closer to his body and not flared. Those slight differences, if we can notice them as fans, I'm going to go on a limb and say that the opposing teams are going to be able to notice this as well. So until Ryan Helsley figures this out, it's so minuscule, but that smidge of a difference makes all the world of difference in his results clearly. That needs to get rectified. And the massive problem that we have here in regards to Helsley tipping his pitches is the fact that he's aware of it. So it's okay. You say to yourself, great, we know he has the issue, but the problem is he's still doing it, right? And he's saying it himself that he is subconsciously doing this. Like, this is not something he's purposely doing, obviously. It just naturally happens in the flow of what is a very fast game. And yes, he does look scared out there. I think he's overthinking himself entirely every single time he toes the rubber. I think Ryan Helsley is shaking in his boots more often than not to the point of having the yips, but to the point of, like, there's a problem, he doesn't know how to fix it, and as soon as he starts to give up hard contact, he kind of goes back to deferring to what these slight differences are. And then he's giving up doubles. Then he's giving up triples. Then he's giving up RBIs. Then he's giving up bombs to the left. Again, it's one after another, after another, after another. So Ryan Helsley, the same man who, again, led all Major League Baseball not long ago with 49 saves last year, is the same man that the Mets don't even feel comfortable throwing in the 6th or 7th inning. What a shame that is. So that's what you got from Ryan Helsley, everybody, just to reiterate. So let's also talk not only on Ryan Helsley, let's talk about roster construction. We're going to break this down more in content tomorrow, but I want you guys to be wary of it so you know what's going on. Tyrone Taylor, who's been out the past couple days, going back to Friday for the Mets, there's a reason for it. He has hamstring tightness, and that's the reason why he has not been playing when his bat has finally started to heat up a little bit. So Cedric Mullins, even though he has not looked good at all with the bat, I wholeheartedly agree, he's looking more and more like a liability. I appreciate Mullins' defense. I appreciate him with the sack bunt today. I appreciate him playing the small ball, because the small ball is what you have to do next if you're not performing with the bat, and at least Cedric is starting to do that. But for those that are wondering what's going on with Tyrone Taylor, he will be back sooner than later. Just a day-to-day thing with him dealing with that hamstring tightness. And Francisco Alvarez, who actually had himself a single yesterday, was roughly 109 off the bat or so, which was encouraging to see. Had himself a little infield single too we saw on like an 81-mile-per-hour slider or so. Regardless, Alvarez is going to be catching the next couple days for AAA Syracuse. From there, the Mets will make a decision to call him up. Do not be surprised when the Mets inevitably call up Francisco Alvarez, as long as there's no setbacks by this week's end. So as we get into especially Friday, Saturday, the weekend, that's when we can expect him back. Jose Siri had himself, I believe, a broken bat single turn double or something along those lines yesterday. He's looking good in his rehab. He's working his way back. Jesse Winker working his way back from his rehab as well. So Siri, I would definitely say, is ahead of schedule between himself and Winker. I have no clue exactly when Jesse's going to return this Mets team, but knowing that Ronnie Mauricio is just a dead roster spot waiting to happen, he needs to be moved. He will be inevitably sent down, knowing the Mets are probably going to have a guy like Jose Siri be the corresponding move there, and then they will go on from there. So Siri and Winker have yet to return this Mets team, but those are two guys that we're longing to see back with this club sooner rather than later, because not only do they bring positives when it comes to elite base running by Jose Siri. In case you guys don't know, Jose Siri has been on base like only 6 times this year, but he's scored every time he's been on base. So he is a difference maker with the base running. He's an elite defender. The bat's very Jekyll and Hyde, but who's not to say that Jose Siri might not F around and have some quality at-bats for the Mets down the stretch here. Anything can happen, especially if he's going to be batting 8 or 9, which we'd expect him to. Jesse Winker, he has very limited opportunity right now in that DH spot because of guys like Marte thriving, Vientos thriving when he's not at third base, but adding Jesse is not only going to be pivotal for a guy who has the vibes, but a guy who, again, brings a lot of that moxie with him, along with Jose Siri. It's not only what they do on the field, it's what they do in the clubhouse. It's the vibes that they bring to this club in more ways than one. The Mets have been in dire need of having fun vibes going outside their core group this year, and it appears that they are now going to get that sooner rather than later in those reinforcements from guys who have been out for the majority of the season. So like I said, we're going to expand more on this in tomorrow's content, but we look forward to seeing what's going on in the case of Siri and Winker, because whether they provide nothing or whether they provide something, that's better for the most part, right? And you can never have enough options for the Mets to consider internally with their offense. Winker can step up, come off the bench, and hit a bomb at any point in the day. Jose Siri can steal a run for you from third base, pinch running for like a Mark Vientos with his eyes shut. Like, that is how elite of a base runner he is. So these might not seem like they're big deals now, but I assure you, once these guys return the club, you will see right away the kind of positive impact that they both continue to have in the clubhouse, on the field, off the field, you name it. I'm really looking forward to seeing this Mets team get as healthy as they possibly can be on the offensive front, because once you have those depth options, then we know the Mets have an abundance of offense. It's no longer about, oh, can the Mets hit? We know the Mets can hit. The Mets actually have right now one of the best batting averages, if not the best batting average over the past month plus, with runners in scoring position. The end of today's game would have rounded to 377 batting average or so. How the Mets finished this ball game today with runners in scoring position that I didn't even say earlier, and I apologize for that. They went 5 for 14. Not the best, but most certainly not the worst either. They left 6 on base that we saw in this one too. So a Mets team that, again, a couple days ago went 2 for 12 with runners in scoring position. Yesterday, I believe they went over 7 or so. Now they have a true opportunity to continue to put up some great offensive numbers, but now it all comes down to the pitching. Pitching. This Mets team, we've been saying it every single day, and we'll say it again, they will only get as far as their starting staff carries them. And thank you guys again for hitting that like and subscribe on your way in. I really do appreciate that. Thank you kindly. It really does mean a lot. Help us get to 250 plus likes to our live and recurring viewers. To everyone watching on replay, help us get to 300 plus likes too, if you guys could be so kind. It means a lot, and help us get to 35,000 subscribers as well for the #1 platform covering the Mets on a daily basis, win, lose, or draw here on the WardyNYM platform. Now, guys, I got more that I want to break down in this one. I want to answer your comments, questions, and concerns. So before I go ahead and do that, I'm going to cut things off for people on replay. So to all of our replay viewers, I'm going to leave you with this. After seeing Sean Manaea crumble to the degree that he did today, would you agree or disagree that the Mets are in do-or-die territory of trying to figure out their rotation? Because I most certainly fall in that category of yes, they've been in do-or-die category for a while now. It didn't just start today, but after Manaea gives you another blunder, you say to yourself, Sean Manaea honestly might be the guy that's next to be on an IL stint than even Kodai Senga. Because one, Senga has minor league options still, if I'm not mistaken. If the Mets really want to send down Senga, they could. And that's something that they could bite the bullet and have a willingness to do. Secondly, if the Mets want to shift Senga to out of starting a game but maybe having a spot starter or coming in as a reliever, they could go down that route. I'm not saying it's going to work, but I'm just saying they're going to get creative with Senga because he's been dog water lately. Manaea is the biggest obvious candidate for a guy that should probably be put on the injured list or something along those lines. He's been horrendous every single time out there. He's providing less and less length. He has a loose body in his elbow. You know, you're saying to yourself, buddy should just get surgery already at this rate if he's going to be this useless for the club. He's costing the Mets. He's not helping the Mets. So at some point, they have to make a decision there. So as Tyler McGill, as we know, is one rehab outing away from returning this Mets team, as Brandon Sproat is on the cusp of returning as well, this is a greater reality than what you might fathom, that we could see Brandon Sproat and Tyler McGill both impacting this Mets rotation in the next 7 to 10 days. That is very much a possibility. Whether it's a reality or not has yet to be seen, but knowing that the Mets still have reinforcements to consider and knowing just how bad these starter veteran options have been, something has to change here now or never. So that is what I'll leave you with for our replay viewers. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on that. To everyone watching live, let's continue answering your comments, questions, and concerns for the next 10 minutes before I get out of here. Everyone watching on replay, thank you so much for hitting that like and subscribe button on your way out. The Mets win this one by a final score of 10-8. Look out for my recap in regards to this Mets victory tomorrow in the Bleacher Report app that you guys will see. Go over to the Bleacher Report, type Mets. You'll see me right there with my thumbnail just like this. I cover the Mets daily in the Bleacher Report app. I do MLB topics every Thursday for them as well, starting this Thursday, which I'm excited about for the remainder of the season, heading into postseason play. And I'm a recurring contributor there for the New York Post and their sports YouTube channel that you guys can check out weekly as well. Thank you guys again. Let's get those live viewers, people on replay. Time to cut things off.